All right, Jeff, it's not quite 2. Well, it just turned 2 now. So whenever you want to start.
Thanks, everybody, for coming out to Pitch Day. It's one of my favorite days, and it is a great day to pitch. Today, we're going to hear from Matt Lau from Mindspin and Jackie Mork from Carrot. Super excited to hear from both of them. Before we get started, just a couple of things for those who are new to our program or who might be listening online for the first time. StartUpNV is Nevada's statewide nonprofit startup accelerator and incubator. We operate 3 nonprofit programs for entrepreneurs or founders, and then 3 more for-profit investment funds for angels and early stage investors that invest in many of the startups who pitch here, maybe the 2 that are pitching today. We run pitch days every other Wednesdays where companies pitch for the Q&A that happens immediately following their pitch and for entry into our accelerator program, which comes with a minimum $50,000 investment. Oftentimes, that's what comes from our fund, and we usually are able to add to that from our LP group and others. For information on our other investment programs, check us out online at startupnv.org. You'll find out lots more about it there than you're going to hear from me right now. Our nonprofit work with entrepreneurs would not be possible without financial help from our sponsors and supporters, the biggest of which is the City of Las Vegas, the Brex card, and Glassboard Technologies, which provides all of our investing back office technologies so that we can keep up, make the investments and keep up with all the regulations around our technologies or around our investments. We appreciate the help that our corporate sponsors provide to us. So if you are a corporate sponsor or know someone who might like to help out with financial or in-kind services in support of our nonprofit, please introduce me to that person. Just a couple of program notes, but as we get started, first, you have probably seen and heard we are live on YouTube and also recording this session. So we create 4 recordings that will live on our YouTube channel beyond today. 2 for each company. 1 is public, and it's just the pitch, just from the time you introduce yourself until the time that you pop up that question slides. And then another one that's private, just for our investor group, some of whom are here today and many of whom listen to this after the fact. Now that recording is your pitch plus the Q&A. And the only people who will have access to that are our investors and you, the founder. So if you don't want your just pitch only on YouTube, make sure that Maggie knows so that we don't upload it later on today. We usually get a few hundred people watching either live or viewing the recordings after the fact, which means you, the founders, are gonna get some direct contacts outside of our session today. Some are really fruitful and awesome, and some are weird. So as a founder, you have to be discerning and deal with all of them and hopefully do that professionally. So the rules for today is each founder gets 10 minutes to pitch. You'll hear an alarm at the 10-minute mark. And if you hear that alarm, wrap it up within 10 seconds or so. We don't want to shut off your microphone. So please wrap it up if you do get to that 10-minute mark. Questions for all of us who are watching here live today, go into the chat. Maggie asks the question. So she looks through the chat window, not the Q&A window, but the chat window. And we'll pull out the questions and sort of rephrase them and try to keep them brief. And we try to get to as many questions as we can. So another couple of announcements before we get started. First, we have, we're right at the midpoint of our Angel NV program. We are down to our final 6 companies. You're going to see a little bit of a press release and promotion of those 6 companies as we go forward into the next 6 weeks in our finale on April 30th. So there'll be some opportunities for investors to invest in each of those 6 companies or to join us in Fund NV and then invest in one or more of those companies as the fund invests in one or more of those companies. So stay tuned for announcements for those types of things. I'm going to make one quick scan. Okay. So with that in mind, let's get ready to start. So first up is going to be Matthew Lau from Mindspin. I'm curious to learn about all of the WordPress things that he's got going on because I'm I'm a frustrated WordPress user. And then we'll hear from Jackie Mork after Matt's done on Carrot. Jackie's a finalist in our Angel MV program and has some really interesting technologies that supports owners or dispensary owners and providers, both here in Nevada and in every place that it's legal across the country. So Matt, why don't you pop your slides up and start displaying them. And then when I see that you're ready to go, we will get started.
Okay.
Okay, so Matt, once you've got them in full screen mode there, I'm going to just turn it over to you and begin whenever you're ready. Maggie will start the timer after your first few words. Good luck.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Lau, and I'm the founder of Mindspin. We make the web faster, starting with the WordPress platform, which accounts for 2 out of every 5 sites on the internet today. When you click on a Google search result and the site doesn't respond, what do? You leave. These days that rarely happens because Google's used site speed as a ranking factor, so slow sites never make it into the first page of results. This means bad performance equals lost revenue for site owners. And site owners don't have the expertise, resources, or frankly, the desire to fix the problem. Google's announcement mid last year means that they have to. Now, WordPress as a web server was created for a very different internet. This was the top of the line phone whenever WordPress was released. The iPhone 1 was still 4 years away. Mobile browsing as a thing just didn't exist. And because of this age and many other reasons, WordPress is notoriously difficult to meet modern internet demands. However, 37 to 40% of the internet runs on WordPress. That's 455 million WordPress sites that all have performance challenges. This is astounding for a 20-year-old platform. And even more astounding is that percentage is actually growing over time. This problem is not going away without a solution. The Mindspin platform is that solution. Mindspin separates the authoring aspects of WordPress, which are generally well-liked, from the web server aspects, which are the cause of the problem. A user hits save on a page, and the platform builds a heavily optimized static version of the page and deploys it to server locations located around the world. And the result is that site owners don't have to worry about speed or scalability now, or even more importantly, in the future as their site takes off. The market is, the market is large. 455 million WordPress sites translates to $273 billion in ARR. I actually skipped a slide, I'm gonna go back. The business model is a tiered pricing model. So we're targeting an average of $50 per month per site. Using other similar companies in the space as a model for the growth, obtaining a 0.1%, it's a 0.1% market share in 3 to 5 years will translate to $41 million in revenue. The free trial is relatively short since potential customers can easily try the product and see the improvement in page speed without making any changes to their site. However, once the product is installed, it's part of their infrastructure, so predicted churn is very low. So as I said, the market is large. 455 million sites, $600 a year translates to a $273 billion market yearly. About 15% of total websites are active at any given time. So the serviceable market is really $41 billion. And if we can hit the 0.1% that I mentioned previously, that's 41 million in sum. We're not going to saturate this market, and it just keeps growing from there. We plan to initially sell this through partnerships with digital agencies. These are the people who are constantly building monetized sites. This channel relationship will allow us to cut through the considerable noise in the market and to reach customers early on, as well as sell multiple sites at a given time. There is no complete solution out there today, particularly for the SMB market. The innovation and money that's going into web optimization is targeted at the enterprise and is really web and excuse me, and is very developer focused, which excludes the majority of the market. We have a great team. I'm an experienced startup CTO. I started my career at IBM Research and then went on to do a series of startups. The products for the last company I co-founded, which I left to start Mindspin, just passed $1 million in ARR, entirely bootstrapped, no additional funding. And then there's $2 million in services revenue on top of that. I've experienced building software that makes money. The rest of the team has deep understanding of the marketing space. Dave founded two separate agencies, Web Pencil and Joystick Interactive, which recently sold. Christine, at the other end of the market, is the CMO at Vise. They raised 125 million and just passed $1 billion in valuation. Oh, and she was one of the first 5 marketing hires at Twitter. This slide has close to a century of relevant experience in this space. We're currently in beta. We do have one production site, which is running the production web server of a worldwide brand. You can read the full case study on our website. We are working on our beta 2 version and have several customers who are waiting to deploy that. We're currently seeking $1 million in seed funding, 70% of which will be used to hire our first full-time technical employees for the next 12 to 18 months and build out the channel relationship that I previously mentioned. The funding will turn the product into a full-featured self-service SaaS platform. And with that, I'd like to thank StartUpNV and the entire audience for allowing me to speak today. Are there any questions?
Hi, Matt. Well, you had 3 more minutes to tell us more. So you're definitely under time.
Great.
So we do have some questions here. You suggested that your SOM was 41 million, but you also said that you had different pricing tiers. So what is the pricing tier that SOM reflects? Yeah,
so everything is geared towards an average price point of $50 per site per month. Okay. So there'll be a very quick, there'll be a low tier, which the users will outgrow fairly fast, is mostly made for them to build their site on. And then there'll be enterprise pricing on top of that for sites that are truly enormous in terms of traffic.
Okay, you said that you're marketing to digital agencies, that you have a beta currently with a digital agency. Mm-hmm. Don't they currently offer any sort of monitoring of the websites that they're helping to create?
Yes, so agencies have solutions to this, but none of them are very complete. You can cobble together plugins and various other sort of do-it-yourself solutions, but the end result is still an incomplete solution and doesn't add up to what our platform offers.
Okay, so how is it different from Akamai?
From Akamai, yeah, so Akamai and all the other CDNs in the space handle things like static resources, so images or JavaScript or CSS. What this does is it builds static pages out of the HTML, which is the thing that changed. WordPress builds the same page over and over again and hands it out, which really limits what it can serve in terms of total scalability. This solves that problem. And the piece that the actual static page that we deploy is much more heavily optimized than what WordPress is generating.
Okay, how is it deployed?
Yeah, so we can eventually build a CDN of our own, but now it's built through, it gets deployed through existing CDNs. We currently use Cloudflare because most of the people in this space are already on it. The fact that there's multiple players in the CDN space, and they're kind of competing on price, means that we probably won't ever have to build that structure ourselves.
Okay, and have you tested the pricing model that you've devised?
Only initially. Most of the people that we've talked to during our initial market research have said it's probably underpriced for what it's providing, which we can always fix later on. It's comparable to other sort of solutions, and it basically ties to, like, the price point ties to where people are monetizing their site, either through affiliate traffic or through ads or various other solutions.
What site traffic amounts are you targeting?
Yeah, so it'll be limited by site traffic and by things like total storage size and other aspects. But the $50 price point will be about 50,000 page views a month.
Oh, okay, thanks. Taking notes, sorry. So Holland wants to know if your sweet spot is defined by company size. Is smaller better? Smaller is better as they don't have IT staff. Are they more of your target than the ones who don't have an IT staff?
Yeah, it's a good question. We kind of target everything, starting from the one-person sort of agencies all the way up to people who are building hundreds of sites a year. I mean, our first customer was a global agency that has a large IT staff, actually, and we were still able to provide additional benefit to them. However, it's probably the people who don't have developer resources on staff who can really benefit from this the most. Okay,
I have a software engineer asking, are you basically pushing customers' assets to a CDN and configure it as a WordPress plugin?
So there will be a WordPress plugin, but the plugin itself actually only controls notifying the platform itself when there's a change to the page, and it's used as a dashboard for configuration and things like that. All the actual sort of smarts of the software live on what's known as an origin shield, which is a CDN term that exists outside of the WordPress site, builds heavily optimized versions of it. It essentially rewrites the HTML to be more performant and then serves it statically that way.
Tell me CDN, since I don't know what that means, and neither does Bill.
Yeah, so CDN is a content development network. That sounds right. You get so used to the acronym, you forget what it actually means. But what it is it's a set of servers that are located around the world that serve static things to users from close to where they are. So if you're a user in Australia and you try to access a particular image or something like that, it's served from a server that's close to you. Now, this is particularly beneficial to customers who they do some sort of marketing campaign, which is by nature sort of cyclical, and it takes off on the other side of the world. This could really help the performance for that use case.
Okay, Matthew, why don't you show us your face? I stopped your sharing so that we could see you, but we're not seeing you.
Sorry about that. I turned it off to make sure that I had sufficient bandwidth for the slides.
Gotcha. Okay, so Jeff is saying something, and I'm sort of like in the same boat here. I'm not feeling the pain, okay? You haven't described to me a really painful situation. And at $50 a month, that's $600 a year. So for a really small business, that's a lot, because that's just on top of whatever hosting they're paying for. So tell me more about the pain and what you're solving so that it's worthwhile.
Yeah, and the pain is this: you create a site, a WordPress site, and that site you get you get all the text right, you get the look and feel right, and then it doesn't rank well in Google, so no one ever sees it because the performance is bad. And so this prevents Google from sort of dinging you in rankability, and that which makes all of your other work sort of for nothing.
Okay, so they're dinging you, or they don't ding you for performance, but somebody still has to do as search engine optimization, and which is lengthy and it needs to be done on every page. But your product doesn't do that, does it?
No, it doesn't. It does not. It handles just the website performance piece, which is the piece that people don't have the skill set to solve on their own in most cases. I mean, search engine optimization, there are a lot of people out there doing that. It's a well understood, or believed to be well understood process. But the problem is, like, it doesn't matter how relevant you are. I mean, relevancy is always the first thing for Google search, right? But if you're relevant and 3 other sites are relevant, but your site performs poorly, you're not going to show up in the results, because if it can show a better performing site that has relevancy, then the end result, those are the ones that are going to show up in the first page of Google.
Okay, so is the target buyer a chief technical officer who is tech savvy, or is it for a small to medium-sized business where their core business has nothing to do with building and maintaining websites?
It can be either one, but it's mostly the latter. I mean, with Google's announcement mid last year that that site performance goes into its ranking algorithm, people know they have to solve this problem. I mean, 2 years ago, people wouldn't have said this is a problem, but now the why now is very much because of that announcement. And Google doesn't share very much about their black box algorithm with the public, but this is one of those things that they've said is definitely a ranking indicator. And it makes sense. I mean, there's all kinds of studies out there that correlate bounce rate to performance. So so people know this is a problem, but when trying to solve it, they give me the same look, right? I mean, I don't have any idea what this is. I don't know how to solve it. I know it's a problem. If somebody can solve it for me, I'll buy it. And that's pretty much, and I basically just summarized all of our market research up to this point.
Okay. So what is your expected cost of acquisition and the long-term value of a customer?
Yeah, we believe churn will be relatively low. Most sites sit on the internet for at least 5 years. So we're looking at a $3K minimum lifetime value. We are early enough that we don't really know what the cost of acquisition is going to be for going forward. I can estimate something along the lines of 20%, and the reason for that is because we want to create essentially an affiliate program so that digital agencies can resell this to their customers, and everybody wins, because it saves them in hosting cost, and it means they don't have to ever worry about this ever again. But then essentially the cost of acquisition becomes 20%, but it'll be slightly higher than that as we build out the channel process.
Okay, and Bill's asking other metrics for performance. I don't know what he means, so I'm just going to ask you the question.
Okay. Oh yeah. So performance, and it's really a generic term. There's 2 aspects to it. One of which is individual page speeds, and then the other is scalability. So page speed is how fast an individual page run, and then scalability is how many of those can you hand out at any given time. So page speed, scalability is easily 100 to 1,000 times better, because you're doing static pages that are generated and just served up from from the Cloudflare network, and that's 200. I mean, that's 200 servers locating around the world. And strangely enough, with CDNs, the more traffic you get, the better the performance actually is. And then page speed is well, it's basically defined by Google these days through their Lighthouse tool, and it gives you a series of 3 to 6 metrics that you can use to measure your score. And that's where we can really provide additional benefit, because we're rewriting the page to match those metrics.
And do you do that? Do you provide the information? Do you have an app that goes along with this that shows how you have improved their performance?
Yeah, so that is actually built into Google's tools. So we can just use Google's own tools to show the results, which is better, right? Because you trust a third party more than you trust, especially Google, more than you trust the person who's benefiting from the actual score, right? So there's 2 ways of doing it. You can measure it in browser with the Lighthouse platform, or it's now built into Google Search Console, which most site owners are running. I'd say all of them are.
Or they should be. Okay. How will you, it sounds to me that you're kind of on the fence, like you want to go to digital agencies, but you also want it to be easy to use, do-it-yourselfer friendly. So how will your channel partners go to market? How will you ensure that they're actually marketing your product versus something else?
Yeah, we want it to be, I mean, the way to make it easy for people who are making sites is just to make it easy for everyone, right? And it's value add, right? The fact that we solve this problem in a complete way, in an affordable way, in a way that no one else does, means that we can get into their sort of technology stack. So most digital agencies have a set of plugins, a set of whatever hosting they use that they just replicate, and that's how they scale, right? They build sites over and over again in sort of the same manner with different themes and such. If we can get into that sort of tech stack, then the end result is people use it over and over again, and it becomes recurring revenue, for lack of a better way of putting it.
Okay. What have you invested so far, and how much has it cost to develop the software so far? Because it sounds like the raise that you're seeking is for more software development.
Yeah. So what we've done, we've put in, it's all sweat equity up to this point. We've put in we're coming up on, what's the date? So seven months or so of work on this. And what we've done is vetted out the core product, which is where the innovation is. It's where the technical risk is. And we'll be able to show very soon at the end of the beta process, the value there. Now, these days, when you're building a product, especially a product-led one, as opposed to one that's maybe geared towards having a large sales team, it's probably 2-to-1 features that go into analytics and tracking and additional acquisition and various, showing the customer you have value, as opposed to one feature that actually provides value to the customer. So there's a lot of work that still has to be done to turn this into a full-fledged, SaaS platform, do it yourself, which is, where you hit the hockey stick right now. The good news is that the bad news is, it still costs money, but the good news is the technical risk for the remaining work is significantly less than what we already have. And so it's just a matter of doing the considerable amount of work that remains.
Okay, so when does your beta end, and how much runway does that $1 million raise give you?
Yeah, so it's we're working on our second beta. We found a lot of it's a performance optimization platform, so we can always do more. So the question is, when we decide to make it generally available, we're definitely going to finish a second beta, and it depends upon that. Targeting sort of maybe GA is in the again, it depends on the results, but we're looking at it's at least several months out before
GA is
GA. Oh, sorry, general availability of the products, just going out to sell it and selling it as a white glove solution, where we install it for the customer. That of course is not scalable until you get to the point where it can be sold. It gets to the point where it can be sold without human intervention, I guess. But
okay.
that's a long-winded answer to say.
Do it yourself. You jump in. It's plug and play.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
So you do have a product roadmap, it sounds like.
We do.
And what is the current time to install it?
The current time to install it is in a handful of minutes, sort of thing. But it's a handful of minutes that has to be done by a human.
Okay, and are the digital agencies able to do that aspect, do the installation? Because they're selling it as a value add.
And they will be.
Are they able to deliver it when they deliver the website to the customer?
They will be. That's the reason we're trying to raise, is to get it to that point.
Okay. And my other software engineer is asking, what's your engineering team currently made up of? And out of curiosity, what's the main tech stack?
Yeah, so it's the technology stack is Dave, Justin, and I, then and a handful of contractors that we've contracted out to for things like UX design and various other pieces. So that is the current engineering. So there's a small amount of PHP which goes into building the plugin that talks to an origin shield. The origin shield sits on top of is essentially Python, which is great for web crawlers. It deploys. It uses a serverless architecture from Cloudflare for workers, which is JavaScript. So there's a considerable amount of technology that goes into this.
Okay. So does the platform support, or is it targeted to a specific language, libraries, tools, or other?
It works for general WordPress, period.
Okay, that's great. That's all the time we have.
Oh, sorry. I just going to say it's host. One of the things that's it is an advantage is it's hosting agnostic, and you can try this. You can the plugin itself that has to be installed tells the platform whenever there's a change, but we can show the product benefit to a site without installing anything, which makes it really easy from a trial perspective.
Oh, okay. Thanks so much for your time today. Good job.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, and Jeff.
Thanks, and great job, Matt. And super interested to learn more about it. Everybody likes the speed. Lots of questions around the how, and some other questions around the how much. So we'll get to those in due time. But great job presenting today, and thanks. So over now to Jackie. So Jackie, whenever you're ready to start sharing slides. You can't wait.
Right.
Heard about Carrot a bunch of times recently. Can't wait to hear about it again with this group.
Appreciate you enduring this again, Jeff.
No, it's all right. I like to hear about it. So take it away, Jackie, whenever you're ready.
Yes, let me just share my screen here. We'll get going. I have to apologize in advance. I have never experienced allergies before, and every once in a while here in Vegas, I have been getting hit so hard. So if I am sniffling through this, at least you know it's not contagious through Zoom. All right, can you guys see this?
We do, Jackie, whenever you're ready.
Wonderful. All right, just moving my Zoom thing out of the way here so that I can do this. Great. Perfect. Okay, well, hi, I'm Jackie, and I am the COO of Carrot. And I'm looking forward to walking you through our product today. So Carrot is a customer experience suite for cannabis retailers, otherwise known as dispensaries. As the cannabis industry becomes more competitive, customer retention is paramount. The culture of cannabis is personal, but current customer touchpoints are not. Up until now, generic systems and marketplaces have dictated what a dispensary operator can do with their business. We turned current systems on their head and designed Carrot to act as a white-labeled plug-and-play platform that gives non-tech savvy retail operators the ability to offer an experience customers expect today. Carrot is a flexible system that puts retailers in control of their entire customer experience, all from a single dashboard, including the recently launched e-com and rewards iOS app approved by Apple. Carrot creates efficiency by replacing disconnected tools with a single streamlined suite. Together, alongside a dispensary's point of sale, an operator has everything they need to seamlessly run their store and stand out amongst competitors while reducing strain on their operation. Carrot is equipped with a plug-and-play mobile storefront, which is an iOS app with synced web store and in-store menus, a fully integrated rewards program, unified customer communication, including notifications, trigger messages, and support, and fast and flexible fulfillment options, including express, curbside, delivery, drive-through, and locker pickup in partnership with local startup Safe Harbor. Our dispensary is Safe Harbor's launch location using Carrot's technology. Carrot is made up of 3 parts: an admin dashboard. Oh, hold on, there we go. An admin dashboard that is used by the dispensary operator, and the web store and an iOS app accessed by the dispensary's customers. So let's go ahead and take a peek at how Carrot operates. We are lucky enough to have my co-founder own a dispensary that we use as our showcase location to test new fulfillment methods, including drive-through and Safe Harbor lockers, in addition to refining features before pushing them out to our customers. This here is the Wallflower Cannabis House off of Blue Diamond. If you're interested in seeing Carrot in action, I recommend checking out their website or downloading the app in the Apple Store, or if you partake, visiting their location. You can find the app in the Apple Store under Wallflower Cannabis Dispensary or Cannabis House if you search for them. Okay, we're also going to be launching our Google Play app as soon as it becomes legal. Right now, we're expecting them to follow suit shortly after Apple, but the Apple recently legalized just last July. So let's go ahead and take a look at Carrot in action. So this is the web store and my actual customer account at Wallflower. As a customer, I have the same experience here and through my iOS app, which I can't screen share with you right now, but you're welcome to download it. And it's the exact same experience, although it is a native application. So as you can see on the homepage, there are specials that are created in our dashboard, which I'll show you in a moment. I can see my rewards level. I can check out the rewards that I'm able to redeem at this time. I can look at my activity from my previous transactions, and I can look at, I have my profile, including where I update my delivery address, etc. In the order part, I can choose curbside or express pickup. I can choose delivery, and I can schedule my delivery and verify my age and everything. The actual store itself, if you want to go into like carts, where you can search by terpenes, you can search by brands. You can see here that you can actually see the profiles in here. This is a unique differentiator, although it's not going to be long term. But right now, it's definitely a nice value add. If you go into our admin dashboard, so this here is where from the dispensary operator side, everything that I see from the customer side is managed from this dashboard. So all of the customers and all of their information. I can make points adjustments in here if I need to. I manage all of the order fulfillment from this Kanban, where I can move things in a fashion, be able to chat directly with the customers from here. When I send a chat message, it shows up in their e-commerce store, if they're in the web store, in their iOS app, and it also sends them a text notification with the answer. I can manage pickup, delivery, drive-through, which is an option in the state of Nevada, and some other states are starting to legalize that. I can manage my text blast that I want to send from a marketing perspective. I manage my daily promotions. Every time I add a new promotion in here, it is automatically added to the homepage here, as you guys could see, the different promotions. And I can set my delivery zones, and I can customize all of the template text and turn on and off the types of delivery methods that are happening. So let's say we have a bunch of express orders coming through, and we want to temporarily turn them off because we can't service anymore. You can do that, and it automatically updates on the all of the sites so that customers aren't able to order that at that time, or they schedule it for a later date. And then just a little value add here too is that we actually sync all of the in-store menus. So when you are on the main thing, if you see up in this website in the upper left-hand corner, those in-store menus that are acting in the store are synced with the e-commerce, so that there's nothing ever being shown available in store, and they don't have to manage their menus separately that is not available online, etc. So now that you guys have gone ahead and had a chance to meet Carrot, let's go ahead and just dive into the business model and the traction. Carrot uses a utility-based revenue model, much like the service fees added to your food delivery apps. Order fees are added to online order subtotals below the line and passed on to customers. There is a $1 service fee per pickup order and a $3 service fee per delivery order. We also have added an optional fixed monthly, and I can go into more detail and questions for the situation that those are relevant to. With this model, our average monthly recurring revenue is $3,300 per dispensary location for an average annual recurring revenue of $40K, making this a very attractive business model. This past year, we've grown from 2 to 8 paid dispensary locations. After recording $110K in revenue in 2020, we grew to $350K in 2021, and we reduced our burn by 43% to prepare to scale. Cannabis is a rapidly changing and growing industry. So let's look at the market opportunity we feel confident capturing just in the next 3 years. We are starting in the US market with the opportunity to expand to newly legalized countries later on. We have calculated our CLTV at $280K per dispensary location. As of 2021, our total addressable market, TAM, is 10,000 dispensaries worth $2.8 billion in potential revenue. Our SAM is currently 3,500 dispensaries located in 18 states worth $980 million in potential revenue to Carrot. This is based on our point of sale integration partners. We are a prime candidate to work alongside and augment current point of sale systems in a non-competitive way. The top two we're focused on building strong relationship with is the incumbent and an up-and-coming disruptor recently acquired by Duchy. And our SOM is based on the number of dispensaries we believe we can reasonably take on of those 3,500 in the next 3 years, which we believe conservatively is about 1,400 dispensaries by 2025, worth $390 million. That equates to roughly $56 million in ARR by 2025 for Carrot. So currently the competitive landscape is filled with technologies that were built to serve an early market. There was enough business for everyone as long as you were compliant and convenient. The focus of technology providers has been on services to help secure transactions. This includes e-commerce marketplaces, cashless ATMs, and blast texting around promotions. Data is showing that the industry is becoming more competitive. States are starting to see the financial upside to cannabis and are not only legalizing at a steadily faster rate, already legal states are awarding more licenses, making up the market much more competitive in the next few years. We believe the most successful dispensaries will need to focus on relationships with their customers, especially newcomers, and the companies that provide the customer experience buyers have come to expect in our post-COVID society will be well positioned to capture the market. This is why in the next 2 to 3 years, we expect operational initiatives to shift from their focus to customer experience. The biggest marketplace e-commerce company in the space sees this and knows it will be unable to compete long-term. So it's made an aggressive pivot by raising $400 million to become a fintech company and partner with people like Carrot and the e-commerce payment provider. As you can see, Carrot has been built from the ground up to serve these relationship-based market in a way other companies cannot. Currently, the only option is to hodgepodge these competitors together to run their operation. Carrot replaces several of these competitors and one streamline as a dispensary operation. So our competitive advantage is our product first approach. Our team has over 6 years of experience working together and we have collective experience. I know that I'm running out of time, so I'm going to let you know that our go-to-market strategy is partner-based using our point of sale partners, and we're raising our $500K convertible note to be able to get us to $150K MRR, and I'm happy to answer more questions. Thank you.
You must have a timer in front of you, Jackie, because you finished.
I do indeed have a timer in front of me. Yes.
Well, that is a sign of an experienced presenter. Okay, one of the early questions, you've actually answered some of the questions that are in here, but one of the early questions was, how does it integrate with the Safe Harbor locker?
Yes, so that's a really good question. So we got introduced to Safe Harbor through you guys actually. Logan introduced us, and what we did is, we talked to them a little bit about where they were at and where their revenue model was, and we wanted to kind of see. My co-founder was like, I think there's going to be an initial sort of appeal for having it be kind of a cool new thing. So what we did is we added it as an order fulfillment method, which is very easy. Our platform's very flexible to add in fulfillment methods like delivery or that. And so we do it where we've integrated so that we send them a QR code that then the customer pulls up their phone and they can scan at the lockers. So that is how we're initially doing that with that. So they're utilizing Carrot's backend technology and customer experience to be able to have those lockers accessible in those dispensaries.
Okay. You had a person named Seb on your team slide. I caught him very quickly. Is he the main person who's been doing the software architecture design?
So our CTO is Fiat, also on that side. And then the head of our product is Seb. They work very close together with me and James. We're all 4 co-founders to have built this product over the last 3.5 years. So Fiat is the one that deals with the technical architecture, and Seb is the one that's focused on that product, that user experience, and how we're going to create something that's going to be very user friendly.
Okay, so I got from your pitch that you are providing a whole solution to these dispensaries that includes a great customer experience because you're giving them rewards and integrating all of that. So who are your competitors versus who are your partners?
Yeah, so do you mind if I reshare my screen?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay, great. Just because we had to rush through this part, right? So if you look at this, can you guys see this okay? I can try to zoom in on this a little bit, but I'll also send this to you. But basically, our main competitors are going to be rewards platforms and e-commerce platforms. So basically the point of sales came first, and then there was some players that came up to handle e-commerce. Duchy and Weedmaps and Jane, they're all marketplace e-commerce platforms. Jane has recently been trying to transition into being fully embeddable and being kind of customized for the dispensary, but that hasn't been the way that they've built out their architectural infrastructure. And then Alpine Rewards and Springbig are the 2 players that are really handling loyalty and rewards and a branded app for the dispensaries. But that branded app is only so customers can access their rewards, not handling the e-commerce. So right now, if I'm a dispensary, let me go back here. If I'm a dispensary, I basically have to use one of these solutions from each category. I have to choose an online store, choose an in-store menu company, a delivery company if I want to offer delivery, and then a marketing rewards and native app option. Integrate them all into my point of sale, manage them separately. And a lot of those different ones don't talk to each other because their revenue models are based on owning the data for each one. And so they don't really like to play well together because they don't charge enough in their revenue model to do that. So what we do is we basically replace these, and sometimes we sit next to them. So if a company still wants to be in a marketplace like Weedmaps and do advertising and have some orders come through, we can do that, and then they can use Carrot for everything else.
Okay, so on those online stores, which one of them is the best capitalized?
What do you mean by which one has the most market saturation?
No, which one has the most money to play with? What stops them? This is the ultimate question. What stops them from buying one of the rewards things and integrating it and having disrupted you?
That's a super good question. Love that question. Okay, so Weedmaps' entire revenue model is dependent on advertising, and they're doing great. They're going to survive. They're not interested in serving the dispensaries from bringing that customer experience thing in there. That's not what their primary purpose is. The really biggest competitor in this space up until about 5 months ago was Duchy. So Duchy has been the industry incumbent e-commerce platform. They're savvy. They're Silicon Valley based, but with cannabis backgrounds. They have been heavily integrated and have a strong relationship with the point of sales and also Springbig. They made some moves last year where they acquired 2 points of sale, which we are in partnership with both of them. And we were kind of wondering what they were going to do. We thought that they were going to shift and actually try to move into offering this sort of customized approach. But really what they were doing is they actually went through 2 rounds of funding, but they raised over $600 million to transition into a fintech company. Because they already had that e-commerce market saturation, they realized that for them, their biggest opportunity was payments. No one was going to be able to handle payments. No one's been that major player. So they're actually moving off the e-commerce, which was a whopping $250 a month for revenue for them. And instead of trying to utilize that and like buy a rewards company and buy whatever, they went completely separate and they're doing fintech. So we're actually in conversations with them now about partnership where they actually hopefully are going to pass off their e-commerce customers to us. And then we integrate their payment platform into our e-commerce. So everyone's sort of kind of choosing their lane. And we actually feel like our biggest competitor right now is Alpine because they're very data focused and focused on that rewards side of things. But they're also like very deep dive. They're not kind of a plug and play solution.
Okay, so is this being deployed for you right now, store by store? Can it be deployed to MSOs?
That's a really good question. So we actually made a choice at the beginning of COVID to, instead of taking on customers during that time, rebuild our platform for scale, which is rebuilding it for the 3rd time for enterprise scale. So we don't spin up different instances for each store. We're a fully flexible and scalable platform, and we do handle multi-state operators. People, like a couple of our customers have 6 stores, for example. And what we're doing right now is we're closing out a feature set that allows those stores to be able to combine and have, like, say, reward if they want the option. Some stores like to have rewards in each store, which is how our current customers are operating. But we're releasing a feature in another month that is going to be allowing them to be able to manage if I'm a customer and want to redeem my rewards in all of the stores to be able to do that. But we already service multi-state operators.
Okay, and do you keep all of the fees per transaction, or are you giving any kickback to the store?
That's a really great question. So I didn't know we were going to get into this. So I didn't put this slide in here. I have another slide. Okay, so I'll stop share then and I'll just talk to you about it. So basically, right now, there's all of the stores that we've been servicing have been interested in doing the utility model and passing on the fees to their customers. Some have expressed interest to be able to add on to those fees and be able to say, if we charge $1 for Express, maybe they want to charge $1.50. And then they keep 50 extra cents to compensate for gas or just make extra money or do whatever they want to do. So we're actually in the process right now of changing up our algorithm to allow them to add in extra service fees if they want to. Our current customers, though, do not want to do that. They just are charging the full thing. And then the reason that we're starting also to test out a secondary revenue model of a flat subscription is because there are some multi-state operators that do not want to pass fees on to their customers. They're already, from a marketing perspective, offering free delivery. This isn't something that we think in newer states is like what we're finding in newer states as being like a common thing. But for some states like Colorado and California that have been so embedded for so long and they're so saturated, this is something that like we see as a potential. So we're starting to offer that as well. As an option if the multi-state operators just want to pay a flat subscription fee.
Oh, okay. Have you worked out the pricing on that, or are you just working on it?
Yes, we have worked out the pricing on that. Hold on, I can actually. Do we have time for me to show that, or do you want?
We have about 11. My timer stopped. There we go. Get 11 minutes left. I think we have time.
Okay, great. I can indeed do that. All right.
So Bill asked the question and he had to leave the meeting, so he's not going to hear the answer. I'll have to watch the video. So currently last year, or it was last year that you did 350 in ARR. That will stay steady. It's annual recurring, and then you're building on it this year.
I'm sorry, repeat that one more time.
So you made 350 last year. Okay,
Uh-huh.
Which is a nice increase from the year before. So is that considered ARR that you're just going to be building on that through this year?
Yes. Correct. Okay, let me share my screen one more time. Okay, can you guys see this?
Yeah, it's not that easy to see, but yes, we can.
Okay, let me see. I'm trying to like zoom in. I wasn't prepared to show. I wonder if I.
Can you go to slideshow so we're not looking at the other slides?
Does that work? Or loading?
Take it a second. Yeah, that is better.
Okay, cool. So you know how you saw like the different platforms. So basically what we did for our flat subscription model is we looked at, what are dispensaries paying when they're combining these different hodgepodge services together. And all of these, by the way, are flat fees, but every single company in the space charges extra for the utility stuff that's straight up usage, like the trigger text notifications, things like that. So those are additional fees on top. So this is just flat subscription, but compared for us and everybody else. All of the trigger messages and stuff are all market standard. Everybody's the same. We're the same for that. So there's sort of 4 combinations that we see dispensaries in the United States using. And there are the 4 at the bottom here, a combination of any of these, and they range between $1,400 and $2,250 in order to have the full services. We are having our fixed model be at $19.99. So we sit sort of right in the middle. We're comparable. We basically make it a lot easier for a dispensary to manage and run. So really, we're offering a lot of value there. And then there's the add-on revenue. That's this net messaging revenue. I haven't filled this out because I wasn't prepared to going to be showing you guys this, but basically that pay per use cost you're seeing, that 3,400 average, it's still about the same. Like when you add in all of the text messaging and the utility-based fees on top of the flat subscription, it still gives us the same average customer value. So we're able to sit like really strongly in the market with a strong fixed revenue model and also still have a very lucrative customer value that is the same as our sort of pay per use. We're looking at, if you have more than 3 locations, of doing a fixed model at $14.99. Typically, if you have more than three or plus locations, you're also doing more volume in that. So those stores tend to have higher utility-based costs on top of that. And then we also played around in the future, since we are seeing some dispensaries that want to add in their own fees, like what would happen if we went and did like a 25 pay-per-use 25% split, where of our dollar we gave the dispensary 25% of that, so they're actually making revenue, and we're finding that we're still able to keep our overall like gross margin at 73% in that model. So this is, obviously this is, I'm not going to say this is going to be our last standing model, but this has evolved over time. People are paying for it, and it's making sense to the customers that we're bringing on.
Okay. How many stores do you have, and in what states are you currently practicing?
Yeah, so we have 10 locations currently, and we are in Nevada, Missouri. We are just onboarding in New Mexico, and I think it's New Jersey. It's like one of the no, we have
one of those little New England states.
Yeah. So basically, we have some multi-state operators, and a lot of multi-state operators start their operations or have their major headquarters in Nevada, and then they're spreading out to a lot of the newer states. So we're going to be in like Florida and Oklahoma soon, Colorado, because they have locations in other states. And so that's how we're starting to service those other states.
Okay. And so what's your churn? Have you lost any of your customers? I mean, you're just really ramping up now.
Yeah, no, we haven't lost customers. Obviously, churn is a thing. We're not saying that we're not going to have churn. Churn in this industry is very difficult. It's something that, like, when you are embedded as much like the point of sales, for example, the point of sales are doing a terrible job being able to do customer support because they didn't build their revenue models, right? And they know it. That's why they're partnering. It's totally fine. Like, this happens, right? But even so, if you talk to customers and they're so unhappy, it's so hard for them to switch technologies, which is why for us, we are raising this bridge, and then we are going to be looking for a price round, because there, like I explained with the market, there's like a very there's a next wave of technology that's coming in, and we know in the next 18 months to 2 years there is a very like big opportunity for us to capture the market, and those customers we capture during this time will have a very low churn. And then after that, we're going to figure out what the churn is for the customers that we transition over from other platforms. But new markets and customers that are just like wanting that full suite customer experience right off, that they know that's how they're going to be competitive right now. Those customers, I think, we're going to see a much lower churn. I would expect 2 to 3% over the course of years with them. And then I think longer term will probably sit somewhere in the 5%, based on how I see sort of other technologies coming through the market.
Okay, what's the cap on the note? And you flashed by that slide really fast. It was like raising 500K. So do you have any more details there?
Yes, we have not finalized what we were gonna do for those inert turns yet, so that we can discuss, and what that cap's gonna be. I'm thinking it's gonna probably be 7.5 mil.
Right, and how much lobbying are you currently involved in? Just to get the other states on board.
Oh, for the cannabis, for like cannabis lobbying?
Legalization.
Okay, so yeah, legalization. So I mean, honestly, states are legalizing now. Like in the last year and a half, they've been tipping points. Now, my co-founder is the one that's super active in the industry. He sits on the Cannabis Compliance Board in the state of Nevada. And him and one of our other investors and founders is now sits and owns 60% of the market in terms of the supply chain. And the state of Nevada sets the standard for other states to be able to understand how to do compliance really well, how to do stuff. So things like drive-through, right? Like the state of Nevada did that and doing that. Other states are already coming and seeing and following suit in a lot of that. So we love Nevada as our initial market. My co-founder is very involved in the Cannabis Compliance Board here. And then other states come here and tour to learn things so that when they legalize, they can do that. I saw Jeff ask a question.
Yeah, will you deploy into consumption lounges?
That's a really good question. This is a conversation we've been having with Safe Harbor. Consumption lounges, it's sort of TBD. Here's the thing. If like we've talked about being able to service them for Safe Harbor, because our technology to do that would need very little like adjustment, like to be able to service that market. In terms of us like marketing to that market, it's sort of like, eventually Carrot can help other vertical industries too that are doing retail, and it's not in our immediate purview. Consumption lounges just are a separate business model. They're different owners of those businesses. And if I think, putting our attention on trying to market to them right now just doesn't make sense. Now, if we supplied it to Safe Harbor and they wanted to go to town marketing it to get into the servers, that's great. How
many states have the legal consumption lounges?
I am not sure. I would need to check with James. I know that it's starting to shift. I have been to one in California, so I know there's some sort of legalization around that. Colorado, Nevada, and I know that New York is going to be doing them, and at least 2 other of the newly legalized states are looking at doing consumption lounges as well.
Okay, so the last question that we have here, I think, is what does your pipeline look like for new customers?
Yeah, pipeline, cool. So we are currently, like we talked about, I guess here I talked about extremely briefly, but our biggest go-to-markets are through our partnerships because we complement the current technologies in the space that aren't able to sort of offer that customer experience, the point of sales. And so we're partnered with the 2 biggest point of sales, the one that we think is going to kind of become the new incumbent, and we're partnered with the one that is the current incumbent. The one that is the current incumbent, we are doing a joint, like a specific targeted campaign that is going to 1,200 customers in the next month to be able to get them to transfer over. In the near term, what we've been doing is running a test with them. Sorry, I'm like trying not to sneeze right now. We've been running a test with them. So we've been training their sales team on how to talk about Carrot, and they've been starting to seed us some leads. We've got about 20 in the pipeline from them, and basically we're working on like, what does that timeline look like? How are they introducing us? How are we able to convert them? So we're starting to sign our initial contracts from that initial group. They're extremely happy about it. We have a very lucrative referral fee that goes to their, because we can afford to with our revenue model, that goes to their sales team that incentivizes them to introduce us. We know that they're liking it because they're asking us about investment and if we're what we're looking for an exit. So that's a promising sign. But yeah, so we're focusing on BioTrack first to their 1,200 customers. That's going to be our initial focus over the next 6 months. And then we're going to be gearing up with LeafLogix, which is the point of sale that was bought by Duchy. So we want to focus on the bigger partnership with them first so that we can get their payments and hopefully get them to start transitioning their e-commerce customers over to us, right? Okay. And then push that partnership, but it's mostly partnership based.
Okay, 2 quick questions. Well, at least one I know is quick. Is the software being developed in Nevada or offshore anywhere?
Our entire team is global and always has been. I've been running the teams here, but we are not. It's not. But I want to clarify: this is not an outsourced team. Like the people that are building this product are founders of the company, and they're based in Canada, Europe, the United States, and we do not do outsourcing.
Okay, very good. And lastly, why the name Carrot?
Because it's cute. Dangling a carrot, so incentivizing your customers. It's also a slight play on vegetables and the whole cannabis space without it being it. Everybody has leafy, green, this, that, and we wanted something that was kind of a kitschy nod that people in the space would like, but also sort of spoke to what we're doing, which is customer incentivization.
Okay, thank you so much, Jackie. All right, Jeff, take it away.
All right, Jackie, awesome. Every time you speak, I learn something new. So thank you for that.
That's a big compliment.
All right, so a couple of announcements, and then we will bring this thing in for a landing. So first, what happens after our founders pitch here today is our investment committee meets and we decide, hey, do we think we can help? Is this going to fit with the other things that we've got going on? And that process usually takes us a week or two to get through. And if we think we can help, we're a little bit backed up right now. We'll ask the founders to come in and meet privately with the investment committee, where we fire even more questions at them about their operation. So that's that. The founders here today should hear, Matt and Jackie should hear from us with regard to that process over the next couple of weeks. Might be a little longer because we're finishing up Angel NV here over the next couple of weeks as well. And then once we've decided to make an investment in a company, we create a special purpose vehicle. It's a way for our LPs and our investors in our fund to invest more money in specific companies that they like. But we also invite our friends, our investor friends in the community that are accredited investors, to jump into these investment vehicles with us and with Fund NV. We have 3 of those special purpose vehicles, or SPVs, out right now for investment. And we, instead of having to invest, $10,000 or $50,000, a lot of times the lift on the investments between $1,500 and $3,500. Currently in the market, we have an SPV for Let's Rollo, which you heard present a month or so ago, 2 months ago, CID and Turbine. So those are out there. All of our investors in Fund NV will have received those already. So you can invest straight off of those, or if you have a question about doing that, please contact me by email. The last thing I'll say is we're pretty proud to announce we just signed an agreement with the Governor's Office of Economic Development for the SSBCI program. And what that means is that for every $1 that we invest starting on April 1st in companies that come through our program, the fund that the state of Nevada has been allocated by the federal government will also invest $1 alongside our $1 in every company that that makes it into our program and into which we make an investment. So if we make a $50,000 investment, the government makes a $50,000 investment, and it's an investment. It's not a grant. It's an actual investment fund that the state plans to make money on. So for those of you who are founders out there that are thinking, oh, okay, that's 50,000. That's pretty cool. I wish it was more. Just know that as this program progresses through the rest of this year and over the next 3 years, every dollar that we invest will be matched by the state, plus hopefully lots of other people investing alongside us in our special purpose vehicles. So you'll be hearing more about those in every one of our pitch days, just let you know what's open and what you can invest in as accredited investors. And at any time, anybody that's an investor that has questions about this, just reach out to me on email, on my email, jeff@startupnv.org. So any other announcements, Maggie, that I've missed?
No, we had our first due diligence meeting with the Angel NV Fund, and everybody came out of their meetings with the founders really excited. So it's going to be a tough decision.
Yes, it is. And I'm hoping for all of you investors out there, we've raised about $240,000 so far. We always say we're going to invest at least $200,000. I am hoping, especially with such a strong group that we have, and we'll speak about them a little bit more. You'll start to see a lot of it in social media and other places from us. I would love to raise, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 and give all of the founders in the Angel NV program some investment. So it's not hard to get engaged with us on that. You can get engaged for as little as $5,000 in that program. And I got to tell you, no matter who ends up being being the company that's chosen for the big investment, as an investor, you're gonna be pretty happy. So we're super excited and super scared about all the great companies, because if we do have to pick just one, it's going to be really hard to do. So thanks to Matt and Jackie for coming out and sharing their startups with us today. Thanks to everybody who's attended with us live today, either on YouTube or on Zoom. And thanks to everybody who will be watching this after the fact on YouTube as well. So we'll bring it in for a landing now. Say good day to everybody, and thanks again to Matt and Jackie, and to all of our attendees. See you later.
We'll be back in 2 weeks with some more